Hi, welcome to Freezer Meals 101. I'm Charla.
I'm Christy, and today we are doing grab-and-go breakfasts.
They are so nice to have. Now, I think they're especially nice to have in the summer because I don't know about you, but my kids seem to be way hungrier in the summer. They're always wanting snacks, and it's like during the school year, cereal's fine for breakfast, but somehow in the summer they seem to want like real food.
They do, and because your summer, I don't know about how your summers go with your kids, but I grew up in a way that we had kind of laissez-faire. We got up when we got up. There was no real, that was a good bird. The door is open today. It is summer, the door is open, the birds are chirping, and it is warm enough, it's hot enough that we just can't shut it. Like, sorry, you're gonna have to hear the Tweety birds in the background. Nice little Canadian Tweety birds. They'll be fine. But my kids can wake up anywhere from, 8:30 to 11, and that way they're on their own for breakfast. I can work and I can keep doing my thing, or I can be running errands, and my kids are old enough that they can just grab and go.
It's awesome.
It is awesome.
And for me, I like having these things in the freezer so that I can grab and go, especially on days I've got appointments. So regardless of summer, spring, winter, fall, whatever, I love having these things in my freezer. So hopefully you will too. This first recipe is energy bites. They work.
That's a good bird. I don't even know what it is, but it's my favorite today.
So these energy bites can be used as a grab and go breakfast or as a snack. So they are perfect whether it's just you or you've got a house full of kids. What you're gonna do to make these is you're going to mix together in a medium bowl or a large bowl if you're doubling it, some oats, unsweetened coconut, peanut butter, ground flaxseed, chocolate chips, honey that's melted, hemp hearts, and vanilla. Now, these are pretty forgiving, so if you wanna switch out the hemp hearts for some... Christy doesn't like coconut, so she would switch out the coconut.
I always switch out the coconut. I either put in like extra hemp hearts, or I will add in something like it's something teeny tiny like currants.
Sunflower seeds.
Sunflower seeds. I've put currants in before, which is kind of weird, but it works.
Dried cranberries work.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also put raisins in place of the chocolate chips. Like there's all kinds of ways you can change this one up. You kind of want to keep the right ratios as far as like the peanut butter, the oats, and the honey go. But the other ingredients are sort of you can switch it up and use what you like. So this is a very nice recipe to play around with. You can find this recipe in the club. We'll put the link for it down below. So you're just gonna mix that all together in a bowl and then use a cookie dough scoop to shape the energy balls. The reason I like to use a cookie dough scoop is just because then you get them all a uniform size, and not that it really matters because you're not even baking these, and really for this recipe, because it's no bake, it doesn't really matter that much if they're the same size, but if you have kids, you know that it might matter. Because they might argue about the size of their energy balls, right? So we're just gonna try to make things as even as possible here. Now, if you want to, you can lay these flat on parchment paper and freeze them and then transfer them into a container or a freezer bag. For some reason, we have this one particular container that I always put these in.
Oh, isn't that funny?
It's just kind of a habit that I'm in, and they get eaten so quickly that even though there is a bit of air that probably gets in that container, they don't get freezer burn because
they're gone.
We've got a large family.
These taste good, and they are gone fast.
Yeah.
My favorite time using them was taking them camping. I have a trailer, so I have a freezer in my trailer, but we do a lot of quadding and ATVing, and we had gone with another family, and we were out in the bush, and it was time to stop and have a snack, and I pulled out these energy bites, and my goodness, did you see the other family go, And so I shared it with them, of course, and then at the end I had to give them the recipe, but it was a hit. They're totally a hit. They're a hit with the kids, they're a hit with everybody. As long as you can have the peanut butter, or you do use a peanut butter substitute, you're good to go.
One note about these is that if they seem a little bit too goopy and they're not forming into balls very easily, then you just want to add a little bit more of the dry ingredients. And of course, if they seem to kind of crumble and not hold together well enough, then you just want to add more of the peanut butter or honey. So again, this is just one that is pretty forgiving, and you just play with it till you get it right.
This next recipe is a kid pleaser for sure, but it is also just a really good breakfast. It's breakfast burritos. This recipe will make about 8 large burritos, like the large tortilla size. It might make 10 depending on how thin you stretch your ingredients. I started out by doing my prep of scrambling a dozen eggs, and I included salt and pepper in that. That was my seasoning. Then we also had some leftover ground sausage and ground bacon chopped from our mega session. So I was able to use that as part of these burritos. So on the flour tortilla, you add in a couple of spoonfuls of scrambled eggs. You can add in a sprinkle of your bacon, a sprinkle of your diced pepper, or you use sausage instead of the bacon, whichever you prefer. And also some shredded cheese. And in this case, I use Tex-Mex to kind of give it some of that Mexican flavor. And we're going to wrap up the burrito. You want to fold in your sides and roll it up nicely so it's nice and tight. And then I wrapped each of them into a foil square. Then I was able to put them in the bag and freeze them. When you go to cook these, I would suggest letting them thaw a bit, but you don't have to. You just have to cook them a little bit longer. They go nicely in the oven at 350 for like 10-ish minutes in the foil, or unwrap them from the foil and you can heat these up in the microwave, bam, and you are gone.
When you're heating these in the microwave, you're gonna wanna wrap them in a paper towel because that helps prevent them from being soggy. So just a little tip that we've learned over the years.
For sure. These oatmeal breakfast cookies are really just like eating baked oatmeal in cookie form. It feels a little bit decadent, and depending on how hungry you are, you might want to have 2 or 3 of them for a serving, or pair it with some fruit or something. But these are a really great breakfast suggestion. I have been making these for years and years and years. Sometimes I make them gigantic, so 1 cookie will do it for you, and other times I just use our large scoop, and I throw it on the pan there, and we can have a few littler cookies, and that either way you want to do it is a-okay. So we start out with our oatmeal. Just quick oats is fine. We're going to add in raisins, flour, powdered milk, some cinnamon and baking powder, and also some sugar. We're going to mix that all really well in your bowl, and then you add in a cup of applesauce. That is your moisture for this.
These are so healthy. It's basically like baked oatmeal.
This is baked oatmeal, and it's actually got very little sugar in it. I used unsweetened applesauce, and it calls for a 1/4 cup of sugar. I've doubled this recipe, so it's a 1/2 cup divided by all those cookies. You're going to preheat your oven to 350. You do want to do these on a parchment paper or spray some cooking spray on your baking sheet, because they will be a little on the stickier side because there's not a lot of oil. There's no oil or butter in these, so they won't be all melty and easy to get off your pan. We're gonna put them in the oven for 15 minutes, maybe 16. You want them just to start to crisp up on the outside, but that inside is nicely baked. That applesauce just does its job. Let them cool and transfer them into your bag. Now, to do these, like I said, sometimes I make just 4 giant cookies. You can easily make a dozen. This would make 14 using that 1/4 cup scoop. I doubled these and we had 28. This was a really nice thing to have in the freezer, for sure.
Now it was kind of funny because Christy was saying like, oh, we're gonna make these breakfast cookies, and one of my daughters is like, cookies? And she's like, well, like, they're cookies, but they're more like baked oatmeal. Like it's not that sweet, so you know you might not love them. And she was like, I like oatmeal. And then she's like, okay, great. And she starts saying like the recipe, and then she got to the raisins. And then she's like,
I'm out.
Yeah, immediately like that.
But it would be like the coconut if you don't like she could put coconut in these because I know she likes coconut.
She loves coconut.
Instead of the raisins, and these could be hers.
Yes, or she could, put chocolate chips, which would not be nearly as healthy. But, or like, she doesn't like dried cranberries or currants either, but you could replace the raisins with dried cranberries or currants.
And kind of like the energy bites, if you were feeling it, you could throw some flaxseed in there. You can put some hemp seeds. The sky's kind of the limit. You just add a little bit more applesauce and you're good.
This next one is super, super kid-friendly. Like, it does not get more kid-friendly than this. But I have to say that I have been enjoying them too. I've always liked these, but they're just so little and cute that it's easy to just like grab one or two out when you're passing by the freezer. So these are our mini pancake muffins. And another thing I love about these is there's just so much variety and you can change them up so many different ways. So you're never really making the same recipe more than once if you don't want to. I will give you a list of topping suggestions at the end. So you are mixing together in a bowl some flour, sugar, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. And then in another bowl, you're mixing together some buttermilk, eggs, and melted butter. You're gonna pour the liquid into the dry mixture and stir it until it's just combined with any kind of pancake. You never want to overmix. And then you're going to grease your mini muffin tin and use a scoop or a spoon to fill the muffin tins about 2/3 of the way full. And then you're going to add the toppings that you want. We're going to get to that in a second. You're just going to bake these in a 400-degree oven for 10 to 12 minutes. Once they're cooled, then you want to put them in a large resealable freezer bag. Take out the air, because when you're freezer cooking, air is what causes that freezer burn. So we're always gonna avoid that any way we can. Another note here is that you wanna train your kids that when they grab some of these out, they need to take the air out of the bag again before they reseal it, or you're gonna get that freezer burn. Then on the day that you go to make these, really they're good cold, so you can eat them cold. You can dip them in syrup, or if you want, you can just zap them in the microwave for not very long at all, heat them right up, and again, you can eat them plain or dip them in syrup. Whether or not you dip them in syrup, to me, it depends a lot on what you decide to put for the topping, because some of the toppings are sweet, some are savory, because we have foodie-ified
we
this
one. Have foodied these.
And then just another little note is that if you don't have buttermilk, because how many of us just happen to have buttermilk sitting in our fridge, you can easily just substitute regular milk with a little bit of vinegar or lemon juice, about 2 tablespoons of vinegar or lemon juice. Stir that into the milk, let it sit for a little bit, and you will have buttermilk.
Or you could go the other way and make your own butter out of your whipping cream and then press it, and the buttermilk will come out and you can use that.
Or you could go complicated.
All the homesteaders out there, you feel me. I know you.
So these are our topping suggestions. I have a huge list. I have to read it because I have not memorized all of these. You can do chocolate chips, white chocolate chips, or butterscotch chips. You do blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, bananas, apple pie filling, coconut, brown sugar and cinnamon, cinnamon sugar, lemon juice and icing sugar, dried fruit, Nutella, syrup, jam or jelly, honey. You could even do peanut butter and honey, actually. Sprinkles, nuts, cooked sausage, cooked bacon, cooked turkey bacon, cheese, goat cheese, and rosemary. Those ones are really good. Ricotta and honey, peanut butter and banana, caramel, applesauce, yogurt, and lemon curd. So many options.
So many options.
And you could do currants, you could do the dried cranberries.
Of course you can.
All kinds of things you could do here. So lots of options for these. We're gonna put the recipe, which also includes the list of topping suggestions, down below in the description, so anybody can just go grab that. And now we're gonna talk about a different kind of muffin. Muffins are great for grab and go.
They really are. Muffins are just cupcakes in breakfast form, but these are healthier because, you know, you are cutting the sugar, you are adding in, you know, the dried fruit, the seeds, the fiber, the stuff, right?
Yeah. And I'm actually going to be making some rhubarb muffins and possibly even some zucchini muffins next week to take with us on vacation, because it's rhubarb season. Christy and I both grow rhubarb in our garden. We have
I'm going to send you a picture of my rhubarb to put it in, because this is the biggest my rhubarb has ever been in my life, and I swear to you, some of them are as big around as my arm.
Whoa.
Every one of them is bigger than your arm.
That's crazy.
They're huge. I have never had rhubarb this big. It really likes where it is, and it's right in front of my deck, and I feel bad because we're going to expand it this year, hopefully.
So you might have to transplant the rhubarb.
Rhubarb is a weed. It will still grow wherever I put it. It'll just take a year or two to do this to get to the size that it's at.
So since we have so much rhubarb,
we should do a whole rhubarb video.
We have a how to freeze rhubarb video.
We do. Oh, we should put a link. And the best way growing up that we ever ate rhubarb, besides, you know, sticking it in the sugar bowl and chewing it, well, the rhubarb plots, which you've had, it's complicated. It does freeze. I don't know if we want to do a video about that.
It's complicated.
But we would stew the rhubarb like you make applesauce.
Yeah.
If you cut up your rhubarb into chunks about that long, just put it in your pot, maybe a tablespoon of water in there, and just stew it. Mm-hmm. Add sugar until you are happy with it, and it goes nice in smoothies. That goes nice on pancakes.
That'd be good on ice cream.
It's so good on ice cream. Warm stewed rhubarb on ice cream or on pancakes. That is living. That is country living.
I think we might need to stew some rhubarb.
Oh, we need to. And in the past, I have given you stewed rhubarb because I know your husband has put it in smoothies and said, "Oh, that makes a huge difference." So it really, really is great.
I didn't know about the whole putting it on other things though.
I would have
commandeered it.
We can add that to your list for your mini pancakes. Stewed rhubarb.
There you go.
Okay, back to this next muffin recipe. This is Alice's applesauce muffins. This is a relative of mine that she kind of developed this when she found out she had cancer and decided she needed to have something really healthy, nutrient-rich for breakfast that was quick and that she didn't need a lot of effort to put into to do this. So this is a good option. We're going to start out with our dry ingredients. We're going to put those together in a large bowl. We have our flour, quick oats, or you can use old-fashioned if you like, wheat bran or wheat germ, if you can find it separately at a grocery store. Sometimes wheat bran is hard to find. I have better luck finding wheat germ. But what it is it's the part that they take out of whole wheat flour to make just white flour. Alternatively, you could play with this recipe a bit and just use whole wheat flour. And then you could skip that part. You would want to add in some ground flax, some baking soda, some baking powder, and some salt. We're going to combine all those together so that they are nicely mixed. And then in another bowl, we are going to combine all that applesauce, the eggs, the little bit of brown sugar, and cream those up together. We're going to add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients, and applesauce does this wonderful thing. It acts as an oil as well as your moisture, so it just goes together so nicely. If you've never made anything with applesauce, it is just a lovely ingredient to put in your baking. And then you're going to stir in your raisins. You want to add in some walnuts or whatever kind of nut you like to use. Pecans are a great option. And some chopped fruit, or I have used chopped apricots in the past. We've used currants for this video. Just kind of anything that is fruity that you would want to put in there, you could go ahead and do that. This would be nice with dates. Chopped dates would be okay in there. We're going to put these into greased muffin tins and bake them in the oven for 20 to 23 minutes-ish at 350, and this will make 2 dozen. Once they're cooled, then you can transfer them to a freezer bag, and kind of like the energy bites, they won't really last long. Actually, any of these that we've talked about today, they won't last long. You know, we can get all the air out that we want. Might not be a problem because they really do go quickly.
For breakfast recipes, it's like they actually are going to take you a lot longer than what you've seen us make for our lunches and dinners, because you are having to bake things. You are having to, you know, scramble your eggs and cube your bacon and cook, like all the things, and and then wrap these up. Like these things do take a little bit longer. There's more work up front, but then they are literally grab and go. Like some of these don't even need to be reheated. And the ones that do, I mean, yes, you could heat your muffin, but you certainly don't have to. Same with the pancake mini bites and the breakfast cookies, you don't need to heat. So these are just grab on your way out the door, or grab as you're busy doing, like cleaning up the last night's supper, or whatever it is that you do in the morning, no judgment.
Throw them in the lunch that you're making that day.
Yes.
You know.
These are great for school lunches. They're great for, you know, work lunches. But one of the things that's nice about these is that if you chose to make multiple of these recipes at the same time, we did choose recipes that have some similar ingredients. So you'll notice that several of them have the oats. So it's one of those things where while you have the breakfast cookies in your oven, because you've made those and you've got them in your oven, then you can start doing your no-bake energy bites, and those have the same, like a lot of the same ingredients.
They really do.
And so you've got all your things out already, which does take time to rummage through your cupboards and find all the things. And so you're just kind of continuing to make. And so yeah, this is gonna take you a little bit longer than it takes to make some of our meals.
And you're gonna,
but worth it.
Totally it is, and you're also gonna have to stop and wash your bowls, unless you are like Charlotte and have about 1,000 of them. But she does. But yeah, you just take a bit of time. It is so worth it in the end.
So thank you for joining us today to make these grab and go breakfasts. We hope that they help you get through the summer a little bit easier. We're gonna put a video right there to some super kid-friendly snacks, because that's another thing that you might wanna make this summer. Just get yourself completely set so that you've got your dinners in your freezer, your breakfast, and those snacks and lunches.
Thanks so much for watching today, and we'll see you next time. Happy cooking!